Your Excellencies and Your Highnesses, His Excellency the Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, first, I would like to thank the Council for holding this special session to discuss the latest developments on the Palestinian arena. In view of the stalemate in peace talks and negotiations, which is attributable to Israel's failure to meet its obligations under the peace process, through continued settlement construction, Judaization of Jerusalem, and the ongoing Gaza Strip blockade. Of course, we are trying with all means possible to evade Israel's imposition of its policies on the Palestinian territory, and for that we always call for negotiation first and foremost. Negotiation, however, is not a goal per se, but rather a means of achieving results. Negotiations that are founded on clear grounds and on international legitimacy and international law. That's why we are here today to tell our brothers that we are going to the General Assembly this month in light of the latest decision made by the Arab Follow-Up Committee in Doha, and in light of other decisions made during the Islamic Summit, the Non-Aligned Movement Summit, and the Socialist International Meeting in South Africa. As we said, we do plan to go to the General Assembly, and we are engaging in discussions and consultations with all parties so that we arrive at an acceptable and informed decision that qualifies Palestine as a non-member state in the United Nations, especially after an application was lodged with the Security Council, and as you know, the application is still with the Security Council. The importance of Palestine obtaining state status has many reasons. I would like to mention one reason only. By obtaining the status, we will be able to maintain all Palestinian territory captured in 1967, because the entirety of this territory will be considered under international law and UN resolutions an occupied territory or occupied state. Whereas Israel treats our lands as disputed territory, which means that it claims this right as the others do. For this reason, Israel rushes to speed up settlement construction everywhere, particularly in East Jerusalem, so that at some point they can present the situation as fait accompli and say this is the land that belongs to us and the rest is for Palestinians. That's if any was left to begin with. Therefore, the importance of our General Assembly bid stands evident and conspicuous from this standpoint, at least so that we can maintain our territory in line with the international law and international legitimacy. Now we are going to the General Assembly, and this has been agreed. Some say there is no need to do this now, or do it tomorrow, or even later on, while others say yes, we have to go and lodge this application for a vote. When? This is what we can agree on in concert. We don't want to deviate from the Arab unanimity, but we would like to hear from you. What is the right time to have a vote on this decision? On this occasion, we beseech Arab states to convene a special session on Palestinian prisoners, because this issue with the Israelis has reached an impasse. meaning that Israel rejects the release of prisoners, even though we had agreed with them on this particular issue. For instance, one of the agreements we signed with them is to free all prisoners detained since before 1993. Despite that, Israel until now keeps paltering and hesitating and does not plan to free the prisoners who number less than 123. Therefore, we want to call upon our brothers to implore the international community so that hopefully those prisoners are released. For half of them at least are now elderly and sick and have served sentences longer than 20 years, 30 years, and some up to 35 years, and they are still held in imprisonment. The other issue is the inter-Palestinian reconciliation. Perhaps you hear on news about reconciliation progress. What happened so far and what can be done? I would like to let you know that we have agreed completely on the Palestinian reconciliation. Among the final steps that have to be taken is conducting elections, which necessitates, as agreed, that the Independent Central Elections Commission head to Gaza to register newly eligible voters since the Hamas-led coup took place up until today. Those new voters number up to well over 300,000 Palestinians who are entitled to be registered in order to become voters or candidates. This has been agreed. Then after procrastination and dallying, the Central Elections Commission headed to Gaza and started the process of renting an office, hiring staff and other needs. It took the Commission 3 weeks just to finalize arrangements necessary to start the registration process. The registration process had been due to take place on July the 3rd. On the morning of July the 3rd, the Commission was notified that it must leave Gaza Strip and the elections process was halted. We say, if there is a genuine will for reconciliation, then this is the way ahead and we do not have any other problems. So when registration is completed, we will conduct legislative and presidential elections as well as national council elections 3 months following completion of registration. So it all comes down to this. Here, I would like to cite an incident we encountered, which relates to the Non-Aligned Movement Conference, where the Iranian government addressed an invitation to us to attend the Non-Aligned Movement Summit as representatives of the Palestinian National Authority. And as you know, we are members in this movement since 1975. We indeed accepted the invitation, yet they had doubts regarding whether we will or will not go. We were surprised to learn that they had doubts because we really wanted to go to attend wherever, irrespective of the level of relations between us and this country. All the same, they are our brothers and they are a very important state member of the non-aligned movement. Therefore, we decided to go and we did. About 7 or 10 days before we went to the conference, we learned that a separate invitation was sent to Gaza, to the Gazan leadership, to attend the conference. Of course, we decided not to attend, and we informed them of that, and we have contacted several Arab states and His Excellency the Secretary General, and we said, if this is how they will treat us, then we will not attend the summit. Then it was reported from Iran that there is an invitation and that they will attend the non-aligned movement summit and that they have no problem in sharing representation. Of course, this is nonsense and it is unacceptable. Eventually, we did attend to see whether they had been really invited to the non-aligned summit in Tehran, and in that case, we would have announced in the conference that we were boycotting it. Then it turned out that none of them were there, so we did attend the summit. And later on, we had an important meeting with President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said to us, and I quote, "We did not address any other invitations except for you. No other invitations were sent except for you. You are the representatives of the Palestinian people." We were honestly relieved at this answer, and we engaged in several discussions. Then he asked why dialogue can't take place in Tehran. So we literally said that we are abiding by the decision of the Arab League that dialogue shall take place in Cairo, and in Cairo it shall remain. Then he asked what we were disagreeing about. We stressed that there were no political differences between us in any respect, and a proof of that is that after a series of meetings that took place here in Cairo, we have come to terms on three matters. Firstly, we demand a state along the 1967 borders. This is based on a common Palestinian consensus. Secondly, we adhere to peaceful popular resistance. Here I would like to stress that Hamas movement is committed to peaceful popular resistance. Apart from breaches that occur every so often by people not affiliated to Hamas. Thirdly, negotiations are the way leading to a solution. Then where is the conflict between us and them? So he asked, what is the conflict about then? We said, it's their refusal to conduct elections. We ceased dialogue in order to avoid polemic and recrimination. However, you can ask them directly why they refuse to have elections. We also spoke about relations with the Palestinian people. So the president ingenuously said that they love the Palestinian people, to which we replied that we hoped that they loved all of the Palestinian people and not just a part of them. We maintain historic relations with you. Perhaps you do not remember that our relations with your revolution date back since before 1979. We backed you and supported you, but we got nothing from you in return. Thus, if you do love the Palestinian people, then love them in their entirety. Do not favor a particular segment over the other. We agreed in conclusion to continue the dialogue with Tehran. This is rather a good sign, and we are very glad this happened. Perhaps it could be, as they say, every cloud has a silver lining. So this incident, whether intentional or unintentional, has led to reopening this issue between us and the Iranians. And honestly, this was the first time to meet with them in 12 years. We have no problem at all in having normal relations with Iran and with all countries of the world. However, we have brought it to the attention of our brothers that if such incident happened again, it would drive wedges among the Palestinian people. It would further fracture the Palestinian representation. The Palestinian people have one representative, one government, and one president, whether we were at dispute or not. This does not mean that we have become two different peoples or two different states. Whoever encourages such fracture is in fact encouraging Israel to attain its goals, since it's Israel that wants to perpetuate this divide. And take my word for it, because I heard it from Israelis themselves, that they want to split Gaza from the West Bank and throw Gaza in the face of Egypt. This means that the Palestinian representation became two, the Palestinian Authority became two, and there will be no room for one Palestinian national program. For that reason, we implore our brothers to help us with this by supporting the unification of Palestinian representation and not contribute to fragmenting it, because otherwise the consequences would be dire to all of us. And I don't think that any of our brothers would want that, particularly since we as Arabs say and act on the basis that the Palestinian cause is the mother of all causes, that it tops our priorities, and that we all want to see the Palestinian people liberated and achieving their Palestinian state. Regarding the issue of martyr President Yasser Arafat, when this issue was raised, we took the initiative and adopted the decision to reopen the probe into this case. I contacted President Hollande directly and asked him to embark on the investigation, and he agreed on this. There is also a Swiss committee that wishes to contribute to the investigation. On our part, as a Palestinian Authority, we will offer all that is required, not as a favor or as a means of luxury, but as a right and as an obligation of ours to find the truth and to reveal how President Yasser Arafat was martyred and who stood behind his death. If these committees are serious, then we welcome them at any time. Hence, we thank the Arab League for its efforts, initiative and work. And a few days ago, we sent Dr. Abdullah al-Bashir, head of the medical team, to the Arab League, where he furnished all the documentation necessary to them. We are now waiting for the committees investigating the death, including by looking for traces or exhumation of his body, which we believe would not violate Islamic law if it is necessary. We do believe it is necessary, and we do support the exhumation so that the truth is revealed. Thank you, and thanks to the Arab League for all the efforts you have made. As I mentioned earlier, we have tried earnestly together with sisterly Jordan to reach the negotiations with the Israeli government through two key terms, namely cessation of settlement activities and acceptance of the 1967 borders. Yet, none of the Jordanian efforts which were exerted in an unremitting and sincere way could convince the Israelis to come around. We even asked them to release these prisoners because, as you know, prisoners are dear to our hearts, and we have to strain every nerve and spare no effort to have them freed. I asked them to release them, and I don't mind meeting the Prime Minister. But even this request was declined by them in one way or another. I'm not saying they absolutely rejected it, but they did in one way or another, because they do not wish to accept it. Honestly speaking, they declined this request in order to hold us back from going to the United Nations. Of course, we stress that those are two different issues. Going to the United Nations is a strictly non-negotiable affair. We refuse any attempts by the Israelis to dictate any conditions on us or prevent us from going to the United Nations. Of course, you must have heard or you will read about the messages which Mr. Avigdor Lieberman addresses to European and non-European countries, in the latest of which he says that Mr. So-and-so must be assassinated or besieged. Of course, he can simply assassinate because we are under occupation. We are not an independent state or a protected state. We cannot protect ourselves. He can do whatever he wants, but this is a barbarous act, not an act of a state. It is an act of gangsters and mobs. If he wants to do something, he's welcome. Someone will replace me at some point. There are 8 million Palestinians who can replace anyone. There's no such thing in this whole world as an irreplaceable person. On a final note, a popular movement has started in our country. This movement comes in the form of protests, peaceful ones of course, but intense in other ways. This movement has two demands, and both demands are legitimate. They demand to lower prices because prices are soaring and we cannot offer subsidies. At the same time, they demand full and timely payment of their monthly paychecks because they did not receive paychecks for this month. I believe that these demands are just and that any people faced with such rough circumstances can protest and demand and be vocal about their stance, since hunger is misery and people have the right to protest the high cost of living. Demonstrations have begun, protests have begun, and the Palestinian Spring has begun. And we are with what the people say and demand.